It is music for suburbanites who live in the inner city ghetto. It's angry because they have that kind of pacing around their lives and stuff. There's a very specific reason it was there, and people coming from the fucking ghetto aren't bougie. So why did you make bougie the end all be all? It's not something that your community can reach, really. They can, but not like these rappers. So why was bougie so fucking big? It's like trying to sell some image to people who can't actually look. You're like selling an image to people that who will never reach that image, you know? It's
original
weird.
giving back to the hood rapper, which is
he was the original giving back to the hood rapper.
admirable, but without boundaries, it became financially catastrophic. Within a few years, he filed for bankruptcy. At one point, he owed more than $13 million. The fall was so dramatic. One minute you're too legit to quit, and the
Well, yeah, because he started out clown, but we didn't call him clown, you know, until he wasn't the meta anymore, which that was like, you know, what's it called? Naughty by Nature. Naughty by Nature took over. Tresh kicked his ass, and Tresh should have kicked his ass.
next year,
Fuck, my ribs. Wow, no, watch my ribs, kitty. You gotta watch the ribs. I'm sorry. It hurts. Yeah, I took an injury. You can't stand on my chest. You can't. I'm sorry. Sorry, kitty. I know that you want to cuddle, and I know you want to sit on top of me and cause me pain. And you're happy that I fed you. But I can't really have you standing on my fucking broken ribs. I can't actually have you doing that. I'm sorry. It's a reality that I don't want from you. I know you want to give me love, and I'm right here touching you and caressing you. Just don't jump on my ribs. You jumped on my ribs the day of the fucking accident. Like 6 hours after I sustained that injury, you jumped directly on my fucked up ribs, and it hurts so fucking bad.
broke the function.
I don't need to be abused by a cat. No. And I don't think you know you're doing it. You don't know that I'm hurt. So...
Even crazier, MC Hammer tried to make up for it by going back to what he knew best.
Yep, dancing. Yeah.
But the magic was gone. He toured small venues, released...
Got 5 dudes dancing. It wasn't really that good of a look. Like, you know, women would have been better.
gospel albums and even started a tech
company.
None of his stuff. MC Hammer was generous, but to a fault.
You used my fucking ribs as a goddamn fucking diving board. Oh, I knew you were gonna do it too. Oh, you jumped on my fucking ribs again, you fucking bitch. Oh, I knew you were gonna do it. You're a sadist. You're a fucking sadist cat.
Everyone from his old neighborhood. And some say he was trying to buy loyalty. And others say he...
Oh, that hurts so bad. It still hurts. Oh, it's like a throbbing pain. Don't jump on my fucking broken ribs, you bitch. You fucking bitch. I told you not to do it like 10 times. And then you just did it viciously like you were really trying to hurt me, you bitch. Bad kitty.
just didn't know how to say no. Either way, Hammer didn't blow $30 million on himself. He blew it trying to take everybody with him. To his credit though, he eventually bounced back. He became a pastor, made some smart tech investments in Silicon Valley, and started living well within his means. But his rise and his fall is one of the most infamous financial stories in music history. Now, this next artist wrote one of my favorite songs as a kid. I had no business listening to it, but in 1999, Sisqó dropped the Thong Song. He became a global superstar overnight. The track was ridiculous, outrageous, and massive. It went platinum, got nonstop airplay, and made Sisqó a household name. He leaned into the success. Bleached blonde hair, flashy outfits, and high energy performances. His debut solo album, Unleash the Dragon, was a commercial success. But as quickly as he rose, the industry shifted. His follow-up albums didn't perform as well. He was hit with label issues, and most critically, he didn't own a major piece of the Thong Song. The producers of the song originally sampled Eleanor Rigby, but replaced it with new strings. They dodged that bullet, but the real trouble came when Sisqó insisted on using lyrics and melody from Ricky Martin's song, Livin' La Vida Loca. The producers warned him, but Sisqó didn't listen. The result? The writer of Livin' La Vida Loca, Desmond Child, owns most of the publishing of the thong song.
Yep, and he sued him, right?
Cisco got paid a flat fee and minimal royalties.
All of a sudden, like, you start seeing your publishing checks going.
Desmond Child has more ownership of the song than anyone.
But that didn't stop Cisco from living a lavish life. He kept spending like the money would never stop. Fashion, videos, touring. But the cash flow dried up fast. He went from a global icon to struggling to book shows. The Cisco story also reveals
Every last musician did. Even Taylor Swift, they all did. And like music died. Music died like 2014 or something. And I think it came back the day she announced she got her masters back. You know, like music died. Like there's been like Billie Eilish and Lana. There's not been too many fucking actual like crazy artists coming out. There's been no new Tool. There's no new Pink Floyd. There's no new Nine Inch Nails. There's no new metal band. There's no new Slipknot. There's no they just keep trundling out those guys all from my youth 25 years ago because the modern music just isn't good.
something pretty tragic about one hit wonder.
I think they think that it has to sound new, like a new meta all the time if it's supposed to be on the radio, but I actually think it's okay if it sounds retro, you know? I think it's okay.
Wonders. Even when you make that song, the kind everyone remembers, if the publishing and licensing isn't in your name, it doesn't matter. The track made millions for the label, the writers, the producer. But Cisco, he only made a fraction. Years later, he admitted he had financial regrets and made poor business decisions. It's the classic case of blowing up without a financial game plan. Toni Braxton was the voice of the 90s. Deep, sultry, emotional. She made Heartache sound expensive. Her 93 album sold over 10 million copies. And then came Unbreak My Heart, one of the biggest ballads of all time. She had Grammys, platinum plaques, sold out tours, and one of the most iconic voices in R&B. And then she filed for bankruptcy. Not once, but twice. Her first bankruptcy came in 1998, right after her career-defining run. She has sold over 15 million albums worldwide.
I love Toni Braxton. She was the lead singer of an older band that's so fucking good. Well, there's the Braxtons, and then there's her original band was a certified fucking banger fucking R&B group, and I can't remember their fucking name. It's Toni Braxton's original group. What was Toni Braxton's original group? I can't remember. I can't think of the name. Never Gonna Get It, Never Gonna Get It. Yeah, the Braxtons. I guess I did catch it. I caught it. The Braxtons. Never gonna get it, never gonna get it. Never gonna get it, never gonna get it. Never gonna get it. No, 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 no. Yeah, that was them. And the Braxtons were fucking amazing. They were so good. Destiny's Child was like them when they first started. Why would you
had $2,000 in her checking account. It was the classic music industry trap. She signed a contract with guess who? LaFace Records. They gave her less than 35 cents per album. After all the label fees.
I've always really hated the name of LaFace Records, because I always thought it was some kind of inside joke about, like, you know, on the face we're a record label, but behind that is, you know, all it is a face, though. Behind that, it's like a criminal empire meant to steal artists' money. You know? I always thought that they were, like, open about it. They were like, the face of this record label is legit, but everything else isn't. And that's what I've always thought of when I hear LaFace. Is like, yeah, the face of the record label is still good, but that's it. That's the only part. All the rest of it has been sullied by their greed.
And recoupment and management cuts. The label made tens of millions, and she got scraps. And the real twist, she couldn't even perform her own songs. During the bankruptcy, the judge barred her from touring.
Fucking cold. They're fucking cold about it. They're like, well, you wrote this song, but then you sold it to us, so now you can't sing it at your show without paying us royalties. And you're like, what? You want me to pay royalties so I can sing my own hit track at my own show? And they're like, yeah, sorry. We own that music, and that's their whole thing. They're the middlemen.
Because the rights to her music were technically owned by the creditors.
Yeah, and if you've defaulted, then you have even less control. The creditors own it. And they really care. They bought that so they could sue you if you violate it. That's their whole game. They bought that shit so that if anybody ever violates it, that IP, like if anybody ever steals that IP, they can sue them, and that's why they buy the IP of the song too.
Imagine being world famous and not being able to sing the songs that made you famous. But it gets worse.
Yep, this is why I was in a punk band. I was like, I will not ever sign. I warned my band when I was like 16. I was like, I will never sign with a label. I'm always gonna want to be DIY. I will never go solo, not unless you guys like are done. Like, you know, I was very clear about the things that I wanted because I wanted to make a serious push, but we didn't take it seriously. It went so long that we eventually just sort of petered out.
In 2010, after recovering, restarting her career, and getting back on TV, she filed for bankruptcy again.
Also, you
It's
can't
reported
go
she
around these people without coming back with at least a cocaine addiction, if not a full-blown heroin addiction. These people, like there's a funny joke about these sycophants on The Simpsons where they're like, oh, Bart, I'll be your drug dealer. Or I'm sorry, drug keeper aware. That's a really fun, it's a phrase you'll never hear anywhere else. There's no such thing as a drug keeper aware. And that's Lionel Hutz. That's a Lionel Hutz joke from Phil Hartman about like how parasitic the fucking music industry is and the entertainment industry. And he's just like, I'm sorry, you're a child. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'll be your drug keeper aware. And when you're old enough, I'll be your drug dealer. And that's their attitude. That's how they treat people and stuff. So going around them, people like P. Diddy and shit, and not getting a cocaine or heroin habit is probably pretty unlikely. They'll probably, like, honestly, in hard drug scenes, the first thing you do is you take a hit when they offer one. If you say no, they're going to be like, why? These people are rich and famous. They're going to be like, why? Why are you saying no to me? I'm rich and famous. Get high with me. What are you talking about? And they're going to be weirded out. If you say no, they're going to be weirded out. They're going to be like, nah, do the line of cocaine. What the fuck are you talking about? Nah. They're not. Most of them are not going to take no for an answer. And that's how every single artist ends up a cocaine or heroin addict.
Between $10 and $50 million in unpaid debts.
I mean, like every artist. I can't think of any of them. There's a girl in the indie scene named Cat Power. I don't know. Maybe she was on heroin. We don't know, but I don't think so. But yeah, the ones that don't really stand out. I don't know if Cat Stevens was drinking when he wrote all of his stuff, but I think he was. But Cat Stevens left the music scene because of how disgusting it was, and he became a monk in a fucking like a monk that doesn't communicate with the world, and he went to a monastery for like 30 years, and he got away from these people because he was like, the music industry is going to kill me. And that was in the 70s, you know, that was like 55 years ago.
Why? She was living a lavish lifestyle, had unpaid taxes, but also she was facing legit.
If the people from the 70s were terrified of the record labels killing them back then and were leaving their multi-platinum fucking $1 million careers and shit in the 70s just to go join some monastery to stop drinking and doing drugs and stuff and whoring around with women all day long and all this stuff that rock stars do. And like, yeah. And like, yeah, that, and so Cat Stevens was a success story. He eventually got out of it, but almost all of these musicians have like 30 to 50 year long drug addictions.
Medical issues. It
happened to one of my favorites, if not my favorite singer, Emily Haynes. It happened to the Fantagram girl. I'm fairly sure it happened to Billie Eilish. I think it happened to Lana. Lana's the whole face of that whole thing, you know, Gods and Monsters. Fairly sure Taylor at some point in her life was an addict of at least alcohol. And like, and it sucks, you know, like these industry fucking tools, they don't really push sobriety. That's not their style.
Diagnosed with lupus.
So on top of it, often the best artists, they die of overdose on top of it. And you could blame that directly right on the label pretty much. Because the label, the only money they give you is for drugs.
A chronic auto.
One of the things the label does do is keep bottles around the recording studio and drugs and loose women. That's something the label is willing to do. They do this so that you become powerless to their like wiles and the stuff that they peddle to you all day, like women, drugs, you know, recording label deals and all this other shit. And they do this so that you're weak and like putty in their hands so they can manipulate you and take 90% of your money. Happened to Macaulay Culkin. It happened to Britney Spears, and it needs to stop.
Immune disease and had to cancel shows, which meant losing tons of income. She said she was sick.
Like, they always talk about Drew Barrymore doing heroin when she was like 14. My first girlfriend did all kinds of hard drugs when she was like 13 and 14. And I know what it did to her. And I know what that's like. I did my first quote unquote hard drug when I was like 15 in the form of ecstasy cut with dope. You know, the ecstasy was cut with all kinds of stuff, heroin and cocaine and speed and shit. And so these designer drugs that we were doing and acid and all that stuff, I would classify those as kind of harder drugs. They're not normally stuff you normally do. And so that did like change my outlook. Like just even taking an ecstasy pill will change your outlook on hard drugs. You're like, well, now I've done ecstasy, so I've done a hard drug or whatever, and I know what it feels like to be all strung out on an opiate, because the dope pills are cut with dope. And then you're like, oh, well, then meth and cocaine isn't that scary, especially if you smoke it. And and I'll just stay away from needles. But then one of these girls, you fall in love with one of these girls that the label pulls through. For Justin Bieber, it was what's her name? What's her fucking name? I can't think of. Selena Gomez, right? So Selena Gomez likes to do cocaine with her Latina girlfriends and stuff at the clubs and shit like this, and so does Justin Bieber. So then they were caught by MS-13, like filmed them scoring dope down in Los Angeles or San Diego or something like that, right down in the hood. And this was international news. But I mean, that's the sort of people that they put around Justin Bieber. They put like, and I wouldn't say she's at fault for any of it, but she is definitely just as much as a drug fiend as him. That's the people that they surround you with. So then you get codependent relationships with all these other musicians and girls and stuff that are addicted to the same substances as you. And you form this like pseudo family of addiction, essentially, where you're like all like getting high all the time and trying to get money out of the industry so you can buy dope and get fancy cars and, you know, show image and stuff like this. And that environment is just not safe for musicians. It's just not safe. It's like a environment meant to chew them up like a meat grinder, or grind them up to the bone, and leave them strung out in some fucking crack ghetto somewhere. You know, that's like what it's designed to do.
Couldn't perform and still had to pay.
That's what happened to Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez. Like they have the money to score, but they don't have this social clout. They never should have been scoring on their own, and that did affect their careers really, really badly. And I don't really blame the world for judging them over that. They were doing such dumb shit that day, and like, but that's the sort of people and that's the sort of actions that the music industry kind of forces on you just by being in the industry. You see fights at clubs. You hear about violence all the time. There's gang shit in all the rap circles and stuff, and people do get capped and stuff in the studio. There's robberies and thefts, and there's prostitution and drug addictions and STDs, and the whole shebang is just pretty much a big fucking meat grinder meant to grind up Kurt Cobain into dust faster than 5 years. Took them 5 years to kill Kurt.
Stylists, dancers, and
he started in like, I don't know, 89, and he was dead by, what was it? Yeah, I think it was like, yeah, he started in like 89 or 91 or something, and he was dead by 96, I believe.
a tour bus that she didn't use.
They chewed him up and spat him out. They gave him too much heroin money. They judged him for doing heroin, which wrecked him. He thought he was just being avant-garde in his Seattle, Pacific Northwest. Like, we all wear, fucking like grunge clothes and grunge makeup and stuff. And he thought he was just being avant-garde. But when Nevermind hit the fucking top 40 radio rotation and they became the most famous band in the world, the music industry showed up in droves. I think that was Geffen, if I recall. It's always Geffen. Geffen's one of the worst ones. Geffen showed up and probably signed him like $1 million check. And what's a junkie going to do with $1 million? They're going to do a lot of heroin. That's the industry.
At one point, Tony had to auction off her awards, furniture, and the rights to her royalties just to pay bills. She lost the rights to some of her biggest songs and still kept getting labeled as difficult or bad with money. Toni Braxton's story isn't just sad, it's infuriating. She had talent.
Racist too. I think they see a black girl and they think, oh my God, I can just take advantage of her because I'm this rich, white, fucking, privileged music industry guy. She's just a singer. And I snap my fingers and she comes at my beck and call like a puppy. And they get this power trip and they use black women. We don't know why, but they do. They target black women in particular for some reason.
The sales, the fame.
I think there's a certain amount of breakout fame that a black female R&B singer can do that kind of fascinates the industry. They're like, oh, what if it's another Aaliyah? What if it's another TLC? What if it's another Beyonce? What if it's another Kesha or whatever, right? And so they're like, okay, well, like, hey, pop singer, can you be another Kesha? And like, no, not if you give them too much money, ply them with dope, and get them addicted. No, they're not going to be able to do that. No.
In the industry.
And then that's what they did to Whitney Houston. They were like taking, remember all the movies she made, like The Preacher's Wife? That's who she actually was. She wanted the world to know that she was the preacher's wife, but we all knew that she was, well, we didn't know until she told us, but we know now that she was like doing a lot of cocaine with Bobby Brown and he was beating her fucking ass like every night. And that's the sort of stuff cocaine turns you into. That cocaine will get you into DV right quick. It's an anger drug. It's, especially with men, men should not do cocaine. It's this thing that scares me. When men are on cocaine, it scares me. For some reason, I'm far more mentally okay with men being on meth than I am cocaine. Because cocaine it like inflates your ego and it makes you think you're bigger than you actually are. Meth makes you paranoid and geeky, like geeked out, like kind of like strung out and sort of spastic. Like cocaine makes you feel like Scarface, when he's like shooting up the cops. That's what cocaine does to you. So domestic battery and abuse pretty much goes hand in hand with cocaine, especially if they're mixing alcohol. So we come to find out, like, 20 years later that Whitney Houston, like, she died and shit, didn't she? Yeah, Whitney died, I think, didn't she? Well, yeah, Whitney Houston was doing cocaine with Bobby Brown for like 25 years, ruined her skin, ruined her image, all that stuff. How did Whitney Houston die? I can't remember. That's the sort of stuff that the industry does. They get you addicted to cocaine and alcohol and bottles in the club and all that bougie bullshit. And then, at the age of 48, you drown accidentally in some bathtub in the Hilton because you're on 5 different pills and cocaine. Accidental drowning. Heart disease from chronic cocaine use. Toxology report revealed cocaine metabolites, like she was smoking crack, means that she had crack cocaine cut in her system. The stuff that they use to, Brillo and stuff there, or whatever, not Brillo, but whatever they use to cut crack cocaine. I've never been a crackhead, so I don't know. Is it flour or whatever it was? They probably found flour because she was smoking crack. They found marijuana, Xanax, and Flexeril, and Benadryl, which I'm sorry, but all of these drugs are fucking terrible except for marijuana. You don't ever want to mix Xanax with anything ever. You don't ever want to mix Flexeril with anything ever. Cyclobenzaprines will, yeah, they're good, but you don't want to mix them. You don't really want to mix pills. Pills are not this thing that you mix. It kills people. And honestly, the Benadryl's about as harmless as the marijuana is. But I mean, not the way she's abusing it. Not the way she's abusing Benadryl, no. And I'm sorry, but at 48, you can't be mainlining lines of cocaine anymore. I'm 43, and I know very well that I can't do any more speed. It'll kill my heart. It already did. It killed my heart. Like, I have a strong heart, actually. It didn't kill my heart, but... like, you know, but I am much higher risk, you know, much higher risk for heart disease than other people because I was a meth addict for 17 years, just like her. Trash is your heart, you know. I'm going back to, yeah. So we got the point of this video. I'm done with this video now. I don't want to hear about the failures of everybody all the time.
Which were built on Unreal 5, that at one point I think I could sniff out the anti-aliasing method that they were using almost instantly. However,
me too. I can do that now too, yeah.
What started
like old Half-Life 2 looks really, really good because they don't mess with all these crappy, like pixelated, like DLSS text.
with a mild disappointment with Stalker
I remember when a form of DLSS was introduced to Half-Life 2. That was like 2005 or some shit, 2010. It was a while ago. And then they eventually even added like ray tracing and remastered the game, I think, in the last like 2 years, which is crazy. We're like, I've been meaning to step back into Half-Life 2 because they redid Half-Life 2, remastered it, and like added fucking crazy DLSS and high frame rate and all that stuff. And I bet Half-Life 2 is actually still a really good game, probably, you know.
2's release performance soon turned into a
This looks like Half-Life 2 graphics to me, but it's Stalker 2. I'm fairly sure this is Stalker 2. This is Stalker 2. This is, yeah, it is. It's Stalker 2. It came out this year. I bought this game and it was a ripoff. And it's like, God damn it, man. I know that Half-Life 2 looks better than this right now, currently.
pattern. Hold on a second.
Oh yeah, I remember that one game that they used to talk about a lot, Bespoken. They were like, Bespoken's the worst tanked game to ever tank or whatever.
All of them seem to be running
But
very
the graphics in Bespoken were not bad. You know, they're not bad. No,
poorly.
They're just not optimized.
Even when all the settings are dropped lower than the Call of Duty fandom standards. The game runs like ass and looks like one too. This common sentiment ended up permeating from the very first Unreal 5 games, like Black Myth Wukong and Remnant 2, to even the more recent releases of Silent Hill F
Remnant
and Metal Gear
2's
Delta.
optimization was fucking terrible. I forgot, but yeah. I felt very ripped off by Remnant 2. Like, very ripped off. I was like, something about it. I blew $60 on this on a lark because I was like, oh, I actually kind of like the idea of a pet class in a Souls-like game. So I was like, okay, if I can play with the dog, it might actually be a really good game. And it was a decent game, but it's not optimized. It doesn't play well with others. You need GeForce Now if you don't want stuttering. And that's all things that I feel like they could just actually fix. All that stuff can be fixed and is fixed by software developers who bother to do anything. Most of the companies don't. Yeah.
Now, understandably, like Crysis in 2007, the best ever graphics of the day will cost massive performance. The difference, however, Unreal 5 games today have the performance of the highest graphics computing has to offer, but more often than not, look on par.
Yeah, I
with
really
the
don't
last
like the way
generation.
Aloy looks. Why do you skip this over and over? What did you do? Oh my god, you skipped this shit over and over.
Today we're going to be diving into everything I could get my hands on and find about this situation with Erica Kirk. From the foothills of Romania to the fentanyl streets of New York and everything in between. Because Erica Kirk is a very unique individual. Her name is echoing around the world, and yet no one knows her full story. Her husband was one of the most...
Fuck up. For fuck's sake.
To even the more recent releases of Silent Hill F and Metal Gear Delta.
They don't do
now,
anything.
understandably, like Crysis in 2007, the best ever graphics of the day will cost massive performance. The difference, however, Unreal 5 games today have the performance of the highest graphics computing has to offer, but more often than not, look on par.
Like, because of the way they do ad blocks now, I can't click videos to pause them anymore. I have to hit the spacebar and wait 5 seconds. It's so annoying. It's just more software developers causing problems we didn't have 25 years ago.
The last generation, and even in the cases where the visual spectacle does
I want to return to Stalker 2 because they said that they tried to make it like 2.0, like Cyberpunk, but they always say that, and it's actually just usually some small edition or something. I got pretty far in Stalker 2, and it is a good game, but I don't
see the last generation. The difference becomes immediately clear when you
yeah, I couldn't do Senua. Like, all the whispering in the fucking background drove me crazy. I was like, why would I voluntarily become like what do they call that when you have borderline personality disorder, like BPD? Why would I give myself BPD willingly? I don't want to hear somebody whispering in my ear like I'm a crazy person, and I can't believe how successful Senua actually was. When you think of how bad the premise actually is, it's like you're a lady. She's essentially a crazy cat lady. She's crazy. She's full-blown crazy. You're not even really sure if she's actually there or not, or if it's all just some dream or something. And constantly through the whole game, weird fucking sociopath whispers. So weird sociopaths in your head whisper stuff at you through the whole fucking game. And that's supposed to be like the experience. And I was like, why would I play a sociopath sim? I mean, why would you play a sociopath sim? I can't believe they made a sequel to this fucking game. The premise was weak in the first place. And I heard Senua was actually a really good game. But when I played it on torrent, and I was like, nope, 5 minutes in, I'm like, no, I cannot stand the sound of these crazy people mic'd up with ASMR trying to whisper to me about how some shadows are moving down the back of my spine or something like that. It's like weird. I don't, and it's just, it was fucking weird. I didn't like it, and I don't understand how this game did as well as it did. And it seems like another one of these Remnant titles that were just kind of like bombs that you could have stepped on by mistake. I feel that Plague Tale Requiem was kind of like that, and so was Plague Tale Innocence. They were really, really good games, and I liked them, and I beat them. But I'm not sure that the theme was done well enough. It was in Requiem, but it wasn't in the original. And the rats were a good bit of tech when we first saw it. But it doesn't age well. Like 5 years later, Plague Tale Innocence was, the second game was really good. Requiem, a lot better than the first one. But it was your average crappy like Drake's Fortune game. There wasn't really much in it besides moving like fire around and big pits of rats. And it had like some of the best graphics I've ever seen in a single player game. But that won't cut it for me. The premise was still sort of weak. It was like, use big clouds of rats to kill zombies so that you can get an 11-year-old girl to the end of the game, like through the end of the game. And I felt socially manipulated. I notice now, if you're trying to save your crappy ill thought through like third player, like Drake's Fortune ripoff, like third person ARPG, not ARPG, but like action game, you're trying to save it. I noticed that they almost always put like an 11-year-old girl in the main role. That's how Last of Us was. That's like Clementine from The Walking Dead. That's how Senua was. That's how Aloy was in her first game. She was like maybe 20 or something like this. And it's weird. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I get it, but like, I don't think you need to put me in the shoes of a 12-year-old girl as much as you do. That's a sort of weird tip for kind of a male-dominated sport. And a lot of gamers do, like the right-wingers, they're just like, nope, too woke and gay. And for me, it's like, I really do struggle to try and identify with a 12-year-old girl. I don't really play well as a 12-year-old girl. I don't know. It's just an RP that doesn't seem necessary for me. All it does is it makes me feel socially manipulated because I'm more worried that a little girl's going to die if I die. So I try to die less because I'm like, oh, if I die, a little girl dies, And it works, but it's a form of manipulation that they shouldn't do. Most men can't relate to being fucking what's-her-name from The Last of Us 2, Ellie, or whatever. Most dudes can't relate to being Ellie, and I can't believe how successful they were. The games were good. The combat wasn't. At least not in the first one.
Try to maximize the performance.
I've not played the second Last of Us 2 because it stank of this problem. It stank just as bad as Remnant 2 or Senua's Saga 2 or, all these other games. Stalker 2, right? It stank of a cash grab, kind of like all these other crappy sequels. Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 was kind of a cash grab. I liked it, but it was still kind of a cash grab.
And turn Unreal 5 games into a potato trash fire like this. And these Unreal 5 games can't even beat a 2-decade-old game on max settings 4K.
Yeah, so, yeah, and Crysis Remastered was just so well made graphically that it still smokes these games from 2025. It smokes them.
In the performance and visuals. And
yep.
So at some point you start wondering, well, what the hell even was the
What
point?
happened?
But
yeah.
okay, what if Unreal uses the low-end settings just for compatibility's sake, and it's all about the highest tier quality settings? Can those allow console peasantry playable frame rates of at least 30 FPS?
No.
Case in point, Hellblade 2. Or if you want something really early, you can take Black Myth Wukong as well.
Stalker
and
2.
The visuals are very modern and detailed. Arguably better than, say, DICE's Frostbite engine and their amazing work on photogrammetry.
Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 is a really beautiful, genuinely beautiful game. So is 5. So is 2048 or whatever.
Rock Formations.
Battlefield 1 is genuinely fucking beautiful. The World War I one. That game is like the most beautiful single-player shooter I've ever seen.
So to a certain level, most Unreal games can and have used to date highest level detailed assets.
Yeah, like the scenes are detailed, definitely. Was Bloodborne on the Unreal Engine? Because I think Bloodborne suffered from this really bad. It couldn't get good frame rate either. What engine is Bloodborne on? It's UE5. I know it is. It's got the same issues. Oh, no, it's an in-house engine, huh? Dandelion. And okay, so Dandelion, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, and Sekiro, and Havoc. Okay, no, it's just the Demon Souls engine. I mean, and it was kind of chunky the way that UE5 is. It had terrible stutters. You know, Bloodborne was a well-optimized game for the PlayStation 4 Pro. But it would get nice 60 frames. It did well. But I didn't complain about the frames when I played it on PlayStation, but now I would.
But it's gonna take
wrong video.
Then Fire Nation
I'm gonna stay up till 6 a.m. because I'm in so much pain. It's gonna be hard to sleep.
attacked. I mean, gameplay happened and everything started smearing. Oh no. Okay, so the max settings get ruined. Well, okay, let's drop the quality like underpants in an orgy for that sweet performance. What do we get? That's weird. Even in the best optimized single-player Unreal game, in my opinion, Stalker 2, no matter how low you drop the visuals or how much you ruin them, you can't claw back over 200 FPS on a top-end hardware. Over 200 FPS on a top-end hardware. Yeah, not even utterly obliterating the visuals with prehistoric, and I mean 1990s graphics that give you eye cancer, can you get over 200 FPS? How does that make sense? No, I found a place in Stalker 2 that you could get over 200 FPS. And the weirdness continues to pile on when I notice the third-person games, say for example Hellblade, Silent Hill, or Wukong, getting the same, if not worse, frame rate as the first-person Unreal 5 titles. See, the reason this is weird is, historically, first-person games, the camera itself is a lot closer to the walls, textures, models, and even faces. Hence the need for more higher, detailed, thus less performative models.
My
which means
back.
that for third-person games, you can take some liberties, which mean either better performance or larger environments. And yet here, they are within the same margin of run-to-run variant frame rates. In fact, due to this, I noticed the most bizarre thing. The thing that spawned this whole episode in its own. Every Unreal title seems to run the same frame rate, no matter the style, model, or details. Seriously, how likely is it that dozens of studios could achieve the same performance result when looking wildly different? Now, this was Unreal on its own. As soon as I started looking outside of Unreal's ecosystem and other games, especially released in the same time, but on different engines, say for example Battlefield 6 or especially Kingdom Come 2, the performance gap, chasm,
Kingdom Come 2 was not optimized well.
for arguably comparably the same visual fidelity.
Beautiful game, but it wasn't optimized.
Becomes
I want to return to Kingdom Come 2 because it's on Amazon Prime right now for free. And I can play it on a browser. It has good music, and I don't like that combat at all, and I'm a combat guy, so I know this isn't my game.
Extremely.
Like, the first thing I did was pick up a crossbow and start shooting dudes in the fucking head, and I would just shoot them, and it's terrible to fire the crossbow in this game. It's fucking terrible. But I found a way to cheese on ultra difficulty, shoot people in the head with crossbows over and over again, and they die. And the minute that I saw that I could do that to get through the game, I was just like, well, I beat this game then, and I never played it again. So I was like, I'll do anything to avoid this terrible, terrible melee combat that you call acceptable for a AAA game. But this combat was not acceptable.
So then, what is happening and why? What is Unreal Engine and Epic Games even doing? Well, you see, back in 2022, with the reveal of the new engine, Epic showcased two main new features. Nanite, the automatic LOD optimizing thing that would basically increase the detail of terrain and static objects the closer they are to the viewport. In fact, just recently with Witcher 4 gameplay demo, Unreal showcased foliage being added to Nanite itself.
And the old LOD tricks of the past, they needed a complete rethink. And in their place, it's a new adaptive voxel representation in Nanite. It's volumetric, it's fully 3D, it is super fast to render.
And then there's the lighting engine, Lumen. Basically an attempt to implement software ray tracing, the Light Edition, with hardware support additionally. Unreal 5, thanks to both of these features, allows developers to use ultra mega poly scans that until now were mostly used in movies only. That is, unless of course the game developer wanted to utterly tank the performance of the game or spend massive amounts of time optimizing and building several LOD models. So, where does the performance failure come from? Well, if you're a game dev or know anything about automatic algorithms, you might have spotted the issue. Automatic optimization. Sounds pretty cool, but it also is too inaccurate, resulting in still too many things being drawn at the same time, compared to traditional LOD method. And if you're an avid gamer, today you'll know the problems of ray tracing.
Let's talk about what Lumen can do. The obvious being it achieves
nothing is what Lumen can do.
Accuracy, and as we all know, emissive lighting does contribute to GI. So if you have a large, bright material, it will light up your scene. Lumen also provides reflections and integrates GI into the reflections as well. So what I mean by this is you will see all of the GI in the reflections. Lumen also supports clear coat materials properly so that there are two reflections, not just one, which is really useful for car materials. It also supports fully shadowed skylight, so drag and dropping a skylight set to movable will shadow everything automatically with no additional input from the artist. It provides dynamic GI and sky shadowing on translucency and volumetric fog, albeit at a lower quality. Lumen makes things so much easier for artists. There's way less fiddling around with hidden settings for lighting and shadow detail. Most of the heavy lifting is done under the hood, which is absolutely awesome for us.
Now, Lumen is a type of ray tracing, adjacent kind of a thing that is still slow to calculate. Now, granted, Lumen is cutting corners harder than Circle Factory for performance, so lower quality shadows result from this. But because that's still not enough, Lumen also relies on temporal accumulation, producing proper shadows over several frames, causing smearing effect like this. Also, Lumen does support hardware ray tracing, and usually developers enable it if available, or like Oblivion Remaster, allow you to choose whether to use software or hardware versions. Still, the problem in both cases, Lumen, due to this slow update rate, ends up looking bad. Not to mention that it constantly tries to update itself, so literally as you whip your camera around, you might be illuminating rooms, as if the camera's auto exposure or ISO settings were tripping out. At the end of the day, Lumen neither looks good nor performs well. However, as soon as critics, the public, or anyone with a pulse starts discussing just how weird Unreal is, or looks, or performs bad, out come the dick riders. The sycophants. The defenders of the engine. And who best to represent that portion but Mr. Randy Pitchford himself? We have made an amazing and fun and huge looter-shooter campaign game. The game is pretty optimal, which means that the
Yeah, so Is Borderlands 4 on torrent yet? And while I'm here, I'm gonna grab that movie Roll Bounce. That's a good movie. Like, they don't make them like Roll Bounce. That was a really genuinely amazing movie. First we look for Borderlands 4. No. I can't believe that. That's so crazy. Borderlands 4 is a no-go. What about Roll Bounce? Yeah, this was a good film. 720p. Can you do higher? I'll take the 1080 for a little bit more, yeah. Make sure my VPN's on. Add. Now I'm looking for Roll Bounce. Oh yeah, we're halfway through that video.
Software is doing what we want without wasteful cycles on bad processes.
Of course, I did play the game for a bit just so I could get to a suitable section for testing, but I used an RTX 5090, and even then, I was forced to dial down the resolution to 1440p and enable upscaling, because damn was the experience at native 4K bad. I was shocked to find frame rates in the 40s. Like, what the hell is up with that?
Oh, whoops, Mr. Pitchford, what is this? Every PC gamer must accept the reality of the relationship between their hardware and what software they are running is doing. Bold move, let's see if it pays out. The main cause is order of development. Many studios build for top-tier hardware first and leave optimization and low-spec testing for end. Ideally, optimization should begin early before full content build-out. But please accept that the game is doing a lot and running pretty optimally, and that you need to accept either a trade-off between FPS, features, and resolution as your preference, or you will continue to be disappointed. Code your own engine if you know better. So, Mr. Pitchford, which is it? Is the engine amazing and you agree with Mr. Sweeney that, hey, developers need to learn to develop and optimize, meaning that you are an incompetent buffoon, or is it not your fault and Borderlands 4 runs perfectly as it should be, with lower frame rate than even other Unreal 5 games, and something else is, at fault? But seriously though, it's clear that Epic Games want to deflect the
I think this guy used to watch him, and he usually runs in a duo. And there's like another sort of fat Asian guy, and he's kind of like a German guy, I believe, and they have a good duo. They're pretty good gamer friends, and they have a good duo.
Responsibility of their engine.
I wonder if he stopped doing. I wonder if the other guy isn't with him anymore. Seems like.
Failures onto developers and
the other guy was really knowledgeable. They both are really knowledgeable about the fucking industry.
That we should ignore the engine being bad, or that there are any issues with it. Just, blame developers for bad performance.
Leave her alone!
Leave her alone.
Leave Unreal Engine alone! Now, of course, that's a ludicrous idea, but let's say it's true. None of the over dozen different game studios ranging from small to AAA could not get the engine or its performance to run better. Not a single one. And all of them are just simply incompetent equally. I don't know about you, but I find that hard to believe. But okay, let's take an amateur look at what is going on. Maybe a plebeian wannabe game dev or a game enthusiast like me can spot at least where some problems lie. So I downloaded Unreal Engine, set up a scene, deleted absolutely everything from it, and let it run as fast as possible. 500 FPS. 40s. Default settings, blank scene, nothing else. And to put it in perspective, I did exactly the same thing with Unity as well. No, that's not 1000 FPS. That's 10,000 FPS. On the very same PC. Now, you probably already know where this is going, but let's make it a little bit more fair and let's actually draw something with shadows. Now, how about my maker coin? Also, by the way, I'll have the file for this coin in STL format available for my patrons, so consider supporting. And of course, if you just enjoyed the video or the technical deep dive, as much as it can be, don't forget to subscribe, like, and whatever else. Unreal Engine, 300 FPS. Unity, 900 FPS. Remember, all I'm doing is running the engine with no special settings, just default stuff, empty project, and actual...
See, I used to hate Unity when Rust wasn't optimized, but then suddenly, I don't know what it was, something about the RAM or something I did. Rust went from terrible fucking seizing all the time and fucking frame rate drops and stuff to just like absolutely fine. Like it is still a not optimized client at all. And it definitely can't pull 300 FPS, but it's...
releasing the project.
No, I don't think Unity's any better. I think Unity has the exact same frame rate issues.
It from editor. So what have we actually learned from this? Number one, Unreal by default still slaps on motion blur only. So fuck you for that alone. But seriously though. Number two, Unity shadows are very ass looking in comparison. And number three, Unreal Engine out of the box comes like an American on a diet of nothing but beans and Taco Bell. Extremely bloated, to a point that it could be reclassified as a waterlogged corpse. So yeah, Tim Sweeney was right when saying, kid code and optimized from day zero, even before the planning stages, idiot. But there was still one thing. That didn't explain the oddity I saw in the benchmark results for nearly all Unreal games that used Lumen and Nanite. All of them on the same hardware, say for example like mine, were running 40 to 50 FPS, no matter the style, complexity, or detailing. It was always the same performance. Also, you might be asking, why 4K and not say 1080p? Well, partially because I'm giving benefit of the doubt to the engine itself, because on 4K it actually looks better
I am no longer
than
getting
1080p,
fishing skill off.
And also, it's absolutely reasonable to go 4K and high refresh rate. Even on its own, saying, it's good enough is pretty fucking dumb. So let's not resort ourselves to the lowest common denominator, shall we? So I thought, well, okay, maybe my overclocked and misconfigured system is producing some anomalies, like I'm in proper stalker exclusion zone. So I looked up the third-party reviewer data, and no, the same pattern continued. 40 to 50 FPS on max settings, 4K, and not a single one able to beat 200 FPS reliably, even when looking uglier than Ubisoft's stock price in the last 5 years. So I was wondering to myself, does it really take the same amount of time to render a frame from Avowed, or Stalker 2, or Expedition 33, or Black Myth Wukong? That's really bizarre. But okay, there was an exception.
Still, despite this support, the game is unexpectedly demanding, and as a result has mixed reviews on Steam, with the bulk of the negativity due to poor frame rate performance and crashing.
Well, way to prove me wrong, Mr. Pitchford. Anyways, during my research, I decided to read some tech-illiterate gaming journal's opinion. Well, if Unreal Engine is so bad, then how do you explain the performance of the finals, Claire Obscured, Expedition 33, or even Marvel Rivals? Now, as it turns out, this,
It's a good question.
specimen was simply parroting the developer Harry's, can't pronounce it, CEO of Deep World Studio, makers of upcoming extraction shooter Beautiful Light. So, he must know one thing or two at least. Claire Obscure, max settings 4K, less FPS than Stalker 2. But okay, let's take a look at the upscale potato maximum FPS version. Well, here Expedition wins over Stalker. So, still, how can Claire Obscure be this pinnacle of performance when it trade blows with Stalker 2, which in my opinion is the best Unreal 5 title? But I'm biased as fuck. Still, let's be frank here, you didn't come to look at my stats exclusively, so even glancing at third-party tech reviewers, the results are the same. Now, I suspect the reason some people claim Expedition's performance is the greatest ever, or at least really good, is because the gameplay itself is turn-based and static with automatic cameras. Whereas in FPS games, say Stalker 2, it's all free-flowing, untethered game. Now, as for Marvel Rivals, I could not find a conclusive source whether or not they're using Nanite or traditional LODs. But considering it's a competitive shooter, well, draw your own conclusions. What it certainly allows you to enable or disable is Lumen, and when you turn it on, the performance starts eating metaphorical shit.
4K resolution using DLSS set to native, so it's DLAA, and no FPS limits are in place, or VSync of course, and over here everything is completely maxed out, including the global illumination and the reflection quality, which are set to Lumen. You know, it's a 4090, you're paying the big bucks, you want the big graphics, right? And let me tell you that I am not very impressed. It will probably drop from 60. Come on, start counting the frames as well. Let's go. So yeah, guys, you get the idea. The Lumen GI and Lumen reflections are way too intensive for native resolution gaming. 77 FPS in this area. And if I disable Lumen GI, so I'm going to use SSGI high quality, so no Lumen, okay, as well as Lumen reflections. Instead of that, we will use screen space reflections, way less intensive, all right? And now at native resolution, we're getting 109. And so we gain 30 frames per second just by changing those couple of settings. And maybe.
So, what about the finals? Ah, yes. Now, this one's a very interesting case. When this game came out, I genuinely was impressed by the tech behind the game, even if the gameplay left me more bored than looking at the white paint dry over their white arenas. But what makes their implementation so good?
The only solution that has had any success in influencing the industry are custom Unreal versions, as seen with Embark Studios and the NVIDIA RTX branch. Their games are often used to unfairly defend Unreal's graphical performance by gamers and even Epic's own ignorant programmers.
Now, sure, Threat Interactive is an asshole who abuses the MCA, but that does not diminish his point, and he's right. The finals have a ballpark performance that you'd expect from visuals on display. Now, I additionally have to note that I could not outright find sources whether Now, sure, Threat Interactive is an asshole who abuses the MCA, but that does not diminish his point, and he's right. The finals have a ball who abuses the MCA, but
programmers.
Now, sure, Threat Interactive is an asshole who abuses the MCA, but that does not diminish his point, and he's right. The finals have a ballpark performance that you'd expect from visuals on display. Now, I additionally have to note that I could not outright find sources.
So does Arc Raiders. Yeah, Arc Raiders is a good fork of the UE5 engine. It's chunky and it's not optimized, but it's still going to look good in 5 years.
Finals used Unreal's Nanite and Lumen. Now for lighting, there is a ray tracing option, and Lumen is a very likely case due to the telltale look of it. And due to the destructible environment and the high level of detail, Nanite is also likely. However, not outright stated.
This gameplay is no good. This kind of twitchy gameplay anymore, this Call of Duty shit, is not really that good. I like it in Overwatch because it's like really pronounced and it seems like an RPG. The more RPG, the better. The less shooter, the less shooter, the better. The more RPG.
For my research.
What about Fortnite?
I haven't played Mortal 2 now in like, what, 2 months or something, and I wonder if anything's going on with that game, but I don't think I ever want to play that game again unless they give me PvE.
Okay, this one I got to say I don't know. It is the Epic's money cow, and has higher performance on average while using Lumen than your typical Unreal game. But even here, compared to non-Lumen version, you gain, what, 30 to 50% more performance alone by not using Lumen? But enough about that. The conclusion really is simple. According to Mr. Sweeney, either you be an extreme knowledgeable developer with hyper deep knowledge of the engine and use the custom RTX branches from NVIDIA to properly eke out the performance out of the engine in the first place, or you're just a bad developer. Fuck you. Now I know it's reductive, but what else are we supposed to take away from this? The only quote-unquote optimized games are either the finals or fucking Fortnite. And maybe Arc Raiders and Marvel Rivals, but in some of those cases you can disable Lumen and notice a massive spike in performance. But frankly speaking, very little quality loss. Plus you gain image stability as a bonus. And speaking of, there are actually very few Unreal 5 games that don't use Lumen or Nanite. Case in point, Ready or Not. And the performance in that one, yeah, we'll get into that. Now, putting aside the typical Schadenfreude, the copious amounts of coping, both from the developer side as well as especially from the engine makers, is just not healthy. And the fact that engine makers are shifting the blame onto developers is just disgusting. At the end of the day, it's just annoying for us, the customers, to enjoy a lower performing games, and that's just not good. So, is Unreal 5 killing the games industry as a whole? Well, no, I wouldn't say so, but it's not healthy for it either. And as we'll look deeper, the reasons will become very clear. On the bright spot, there are developers who don't have their heads up their asses, like Mr. Pitchford.
See, in 2025, I had the chance to visit the Games Industry Conference in Poland and chat with 11-bit studio developers, the creators of Frostpunk and Alters, as well as got a quick word with Yevgeny, the CEO of GSC, the developers of Stalker 2, as well as a few other ones. Shout out to Fool's Theory, by the way. See, after chatting with a couple of developers, it became very clear that they are aware of these issues stemming from Unreal. Much the same sentiment the Squad developers have expressed in their recent interviews when they moved their game to Unreal 5.
We do get automated frame rate reporting, just anonymous in the backend of like this is the FPS, and so then we sort
that shirt is terrible,
GPU, and we hit that threshold that the U5 version performs better for.
That shirt is like he like conscripted an autistic person to make a shirt that was so loud it had to fight with itself. It's like stripes mixed with polka dots, which is just, I'm sorry, but not a good look. It really looks like somebody shot him with paintballs. It doesn't look coded or well timed. It just looks like somebody shot him with a bunch of tiny little paintballs. And it looks terrible.
The majority of players.
I didn't think the shirt could be more autistic than you, but I think the shirt is more autistic than you.
Already quite a while ago, so that was not so much a driver for release.
Now, no matter how much you try to justify the use of Unreal 5, for the looks, which granted you'll get, the performance will be in the dumpster. And then
and I think that's my issue with like how I'm unhappy with Remnant 2 and I'm unhappy with Stalker 2 is I came in there wanting a solid 120. I can get that with GeForce Now, but the game isn't good enough at that point. It needed to snag me enough to get a playthrough out of me, and it didn't. It's a crappy premise. You pound fucking Red Bull drinks to get your stam bar back while you run through an autistic single-player Rust situation, kind of, with like tons and tons of whole squads. And the entire gameplay is based around you facing unfair situations and toxic poison and wolves and shit like this. And the odds are really, really against you. They want you to immerse. But what it really is you walking down a road. You aggroed a pad of 4 dudes on the road. They pin you down by some berm or something. It feels good like Rust, and the battle plays out like Rust. And the game's decent. I would give it like a 8. But it's not something I could play forever and think of it as like, oh, it's such a good shooter. It's going to change the industry. No, it was basically the same old Stalker. I don't think there was much difference between Stalker, Chernobyl, and Stalker 2 except the graphics.
So the amazing visuals will follow.
The UI needed to be improved. The UI needed to be improved. The item implementation needed to be improved. The mods were too expensive the first time around before they fixed it, and that really irked me. Like it was like I'm 80 hours into that game or something like that. I am pretty far. I'm like not that far from beating it, I don't think. Or 60 something, and I even made a video for it. But I know that that gameplay loop, the inventory is not fun to use, the stamina isn't fun. There's a bunch of stuff I would choose to just full-blown mod out of the game because it actually breaks immersion, even though it's more realism.
Suit who get destroyed moments later.
Yeah, like there's this something really weird about pounding 8 Red Bulls while you're running somewhere for 2 miles. It would explode your heart. You would end up puking and retching. Why put that in your video game? You can't just chug Red Bulls while you run 3 miles. You can, but it'll kill your heart. It's not something I suggest doing. Like, I would not suggest taking a Red Bull, even 1 Red Bull, and then running for, I mean, I guess 1 Red Bull's okay to run 5 miles. 1 Red Bull, 1 Red Bull. But in Stalker, it was like the average like carrying was like 8 or 10 cans, and you use like 4 to 8 of them on the way to each mission if you're playing the game correctly. Some of the modern mechanics they do, like stamina, just isn't good enough.
By the thing the games have called the gameplay. So wait, is the
that game looks good. Was that Bespoken? It's weird. They said Bespoken was bad, but I'm beginning to understand that the games media is fucking dumb. What game is this?
The amazing visuals will follow suit, who get destroyed.
What game is this?
Moments later by the thing the game...
It's Bespoken, I think.
...have called the gameplay. So wait, is the amazing visuals only good when you're standing still?
No, the Bespoken lady was black, I think. I don't know what game that was. Is it Kena? Might be Kena. Bridge of Spirits? I don't remember.
Play. So wait, is the amazing visuals only good when you're standing still?
Yeah, Stalker's... Okay, so Stalker's design and immersion is good. And the buildings were fun because they aren't like American buildings, and the developer doesn't have American sensibility. So it you know, or English or whatever the fuck you want to call it. So it was like a very culture shocky game in terms of its architecture and design. And I liked that a lot. You can see it right here on screen. There's like a cool ladder going up to some place over there, and there's a ladder around the side on the corner. You would never see that in America. You'd never see a ladder going down right here and another whole stairway set going up only 2/3 of the way. That's some wonky Russian design that you just wouldn't see in America that much. And I like it. It was fun. And so the buildings are fucking cool, but if you actually look at the graphics, this is a fugly scene. The stone is low res. The buildings aren't very impressive in terms of visual physics. Shadows aren't jumping out at me here. The trees look like crappy Mortal UE5 trees. I always wondered why the Mortal trees look so fucking bad after a while. They looked really good the year Mortal 2 came out. But now UE5 trees look actively fucking ugly to me.
That's not really...
Because it's always the same tree. It's some fucking ash tree that they decided is like a really good precursor for trees. And so it's like, but it always looks like that same ash tree that they always do. It looks like Mortal 2. And when a game looks like Mortal 2 now, it looks bad.
How the games are supposed to work now, is it? Is this the shit?
I didn't like the fall damage. I didn't like the fucking energy drinks. I didn't like the stand bar. I didn't like the fucking hotkey stuff. The inventory was not good. The item implementation was not good. The mods are good. The mods in the game are good, but you don't get them until the game's over. There was a lot of technical shitty problems here, and I think I said all that on my Stalker 2 review.
Shaky cam phase of video games. Or the return
I was
of
like,
the piss filter, but
on my review, if I recall, I think I was like, you know, I'm just glad I'm playing another Stalker. I was waiting for this game for years. I'm glad it was made. It's not a bad game, but it doesn't live up to my standards. I think that's what I said, like literally on my review. If I go and look, I think I'll probably be able to pull it. Let's see. If I go back and take a look at my Stalker 2 review. Stalker 2 is $36 right now because they really want you to... There's a Stories Untold content update, and its reviews have gotten higher because all the milsim people, they like this game. It's like a single-player Rust in some ways. Especially if you play it. A photorealistic, seamless open world. What do you mean seamless? It has terrible frame rate drops. 64 kilometers radioactive zone, and it's all boring. Yeah. Except for when you get attacked, and that's it. So what was my review? I think I deleted this review. I did. I deleted my review of this game because it was like negative. And I was like, I don't want to leave a negative review for Stalker 2. I'm just glad I got Stalker. I'm just glad I got more Stalker. Oh, the sheer amount of emergent gameplay I've experienced has been a religious experience for me. Yep, there. That's what I came to say. This guy already said it. Stalker 2 would probably be one of the best games of video game history if it weren't for its weaknesses in execution and numerous bugs. It has a unique and rich story mixed with an eye-catching and at the same time deadly environmental design and a survival system that doesn't detract from the action of the game. For me, maybe the wait I had to experience this game with as a smooth frame was worth it. And this will definitely not be my last experience with this game. Since I waited a year to make sure a game runs smoothly, I'm not in a position to judge what happened in the past year, but for now the game runs without lag or frame drops. Yeah, that was my experience too. There, it really feels like playing a PC game from 2010 at some points, and he's right. It's a strong point.
Engines. Oh no! On the other hand,
I erased my Stalker review because I was like, well, I waited 20 years for this. I'm glad Stalker 2 got made. I won't say it's a bad game, but it had so many issues I couldn't truly enjoy it.
if you want a reasonable performance, well, then get good and become an engine developer. So, yeah, remind me again, why did companies like CDPR and 343 abandon their in-house engines? So then, to understand the why of the performance issue, why it's so low, and the lies of the next generation visuals, as well as how it was sold to developers, we need to take a closer look at the two main culprits, the Lumen and Nanite.
COD of 2005 is objectively better than this game because it is actually playable.
Alright then, Lumen, the software and hardware ray tracing lighting engine. The way this was sold to developers was a little bit something like this.
Lumen makes things so much easier for artists. There's way less fiddling around with hidden settings, the lighting, and
I don't like his lisp. It really bothers me when he talks. Nerds.
shadow detail.
Nerds are fine, but some of their idiosyncrasies, like when they have monotone, when they have a lisp.
Most of the heavy lifting is done under the hood, which is absolutely awesome for us.
See, normally you would work in the unlit or very
Did you bite your tongue?
Basically lit editor view, constantly switching between ray traced view or outright waiting for shadow baking process to see the full view. To say the least, it was very...
And it's like, I'm not making fun of him for being autistic. It's like, I know plenty of autistic people with a lisp that don't sound horrible. You know, this guy sounds horrible, like he's like doing it on purpose almost.
Very slow and often annoying. Now, Lumen does make it a lot easier to quickly set up a scene, and without additional faffing, you get what you see right there in the editor. No baking or additional work needed from the artist's side. Hellblade 2, Wukong, Expedition 33, and The Altars are a great example of how this frees up the creativity thanks to the new technologies in Unreal Engine.
I was like, why is it so dark? And now I'm like, oh, it's just the glowing blood, which is seemingly doing a lot of work lighting the scene.
By the way, that effect, you couldn't do that until recently with rendering packages. I mean, when I say recently, I mean like in the past 10 years. In a rendering system, for a long time, you couldn't have things like textures and liquid and everything emit light altogether. Usually you have to have like specific light objects emit light. Yeah. And even in video games now, you can't really render a scene like this.
Yeah, I mean, you can get pretty close with like Lumen now, but even still, it's not going to be on this level.
Yeah. So it's a great sequence that really just like leverages modern CGI.
No more light baking, limited dynamic lights, light probes, or physics objects messing up the scene.
I don't like the way modern games look, I will be honest. Like, I even have a couple of them open right now, like Grand Theft Auto 5, and 5 looks really beautiful to me. Especially Enhanced Edition. I'm not complaining about 5, it doesn't have this issue. X4 does not look good to me. no matter what I do. I can't make this game look good for whatever reason. And turning the shadows off doesn't help either, I don't think. But yeah, I just don't feel about these graphics the way I used to feel about some modern changes in graphics and stuff. What's that ship? Can I find out? What is that ship? So I don't dock when I come here, I guess. I just sit here, which is weird. But maybe it's good that I don't dock. I don't know. Can I tell myself to go dock? Yeah, dock and wait. Why are we outside the station? Like I don't like some of their sound effects anymore. Like repetitive sound noise in this game are starting to really bother me. So if they have low sound quality, it really bothers me. I've become more spoiled. I'm like a spoiled gamer that just isn't really too happy with some of this stuff.
Real Studio, you just set up the lights and things happen. No more technical rendering or optimization mumbo jumbo needed for the artist. This indeed is the power of real-time simulation of how light actually works in real world. However, with the exception of maybe Stalker 2, the most you'll ever see Unreal 5 games do is changing weather or day-night cycle. While the rest of the time, the scenes are static as fuck.
We also have this concept of providing more feedback to the player when you play the game. We really wanted to make sure that the Slayer felt really powerful, even more so than in Eternal or in 2016. And one of the things that we added in Doom the Dark Ages was the concept of, like, you know, more immersive gore and more immersive world destruction, so the weapons felt really powerful. And if you have a bait lighting solution, then some of those things can feel out of place, especially when you have really, really large objects. When you're running around with a mech and you're smashing buildings and pieces fly off, you can't have those things be baked. If they're not baked, then the ambient lighting will be completely off. With ray tracing, all that stuff looks homogeneous and it feels more real, it feels more impactful, and it really makes you feel like you're in the mech or you're fighting at the Slayer because things look like how they're supposed to look.
So this was Doom the Dark Ages, its take on the hardware ray-traced game. Even here, the destruction in environment not just felt but was an afterthought with no gameplay impact. Now as for Unreal, the only game on this engine that takes advantage of this dynamic light and dynamic environment, I would only say is the Finals. Maybe Fortnite if you count that. So just like with Doom, I ask vast majority of Unreal games, what's the point in using Lumen? Still, let's say that for one or another reason you really need Lumen's ray tracing. Okay, cool.
Lumen is useless. Okay, it just eats frames. Let's go take a look at GTA 5 settings. I think I do have the Lumen turned on. I think. Let's see what the difference is. Oh, your fucking picture-in-picture is fucking up. Oh yeah, graphics. I'm looking for Lumen. No, they don't really let you change it, I don't think. That's like some cart that's rolling by. Oh. Yeah. "3:30 in the morning. I should eat something." Oh, the pain meds made this a bit better. Thank God. Like I don't like the way this game looks anymore. It looks really dated to me. But it's still a graphically beautiful game, and I don't mind it. It's got its moments. Yeah, I would say GTA 5 Enhanced is actually my favorite DLSS game. I think it actually gets the best benefit I've seen from it. Post effects are at ultra. The in-game depth of field effects. I don't like depth of field. It's a weird blur that I wouldn't normally do. Yeah, I don't believe I need to make any changes. I could add ray tracing. I don't think it does anything. Right now, this scene is 55 frames per second on GeForce Now, which is just doesn't make sense. But I guess WoW and Ultra settings really... There's some setting that I'm doing that's tanking my frames, and I should take a look at it. Because this scene should not be this complicated. Oh, I think I have the render scale at 200. That's why. Let's put you... I remember now that you can't do that. Yeah, and I lost 60 frames per second. Look. Yeah, you can't do that. It eats your frames so fucking badly. 120 solid here. I guess I want to bump this as high as I can go before I start losing frames over 120, I guess. Yeah, is a better way to do it. So we bump the the render scale from I think any over 100 and you lose frames. Yeah, 113 and I lose frames down. So yeah, we just keep it below 100, I think, and you're totally fine. Like right there at 1850. Oops, cancel. Apply. 120 solid frame. Well, not solid, but yeah, it's like solid enough. It's way, way better than it was. Yeah, and the game doesn't look... Honestly, I think the game looks better for some reason, actually. I don't know why. I don't know. The frames. The frames are why. Frames always look better to me. There, I was like, why am I playing in 60 frames per second? I could have a better frames than that.
Everything all right?
Yep, I'm just here to loot the safe. What's that money? Oh, money. Yeah. Yeah. 35 grand. Nice. I'll take it. And then take this safe. I think my UI is still way too big. Way too big. It is taking up way too much of my screen, and you know, I mean, I have a big screen. I can make this smaller if I want. This UI is far too big. And I'm at the lowest setting too, which makes no sense. Like, this is the smallest you can make this, which is so dumb. Clammy male shoulder pads. Oh, I think my headphones have charged now. I sold 100 gold worth of stuff. Need to go to a bank and put those 30 slaughters in the bank. And those other pallets. There's a BOE mail I haven't collected. It might be worth something. I don't know where I got it from, but... I should go train cooking. Frames are much better now. I shouldn't have bumped the render scale. Forgot about that, but you can't. The game's playing really well though. Like 120. Solid.
Except for the major failure of Lumen itself. A simple little thing, like a pebble in a skate park. Everything is beautiful. Until you start moving and immediately faceplant onto a half-pipe. Yep, as soon as actual gameplay happens, Lumen becomes its own worst nightmare. Incorrect lighting, bad light bounces, incomplete lighting, boiling shadows and reflections, grainy visuals, inconsistent lighting by simply turning around, and possibly the worst of all, ghosting and streaking are the ugly results that will constantly be in your face. It's like Lumen is only beautiful in bright, well-lit environments, but as soon as you have darkly lit rooms or, God forbid, any fast-moving action, particle effects, or both, you are shit out of luck. Right, so we might as well talk about the writing on the wall about ray tracing. No hardware can handle it today. Well, not at least in full detail on every frame, even in 1080p with constant 60 FPS. If you want to dispute that, feel free and try running Cyberpunk or Doom the Dark Ages with path tracing on. So for realistically playable versions, it's time to cut corners more than your neighborhood's meth house in a crunch hour. First off, we don't need to ray trace every pixel every frame. We just need to ray trace every second or third one. Okay, done. But now we have the problem of half the resolution, or black pixels everywhere, or better yet, if we leave the last frame on, insane ghosting coming out to play. Yeah, you can see where this is going, can't you? So, such methods as smearing the screen, filling in the gaps with denoising algorithms, and so on are used. Approximations everywhere. And sadly with Lumen, well, we can see pretty much every one in the books. So again, why use Lumen? But hold on, can you even use traditional baking methods as alternatives in Unreal 5?
Lumen is not ready for baking, and also, so you know, neither does Nanite. So if you want to work baking your light in Unreal Engine 5, you can, although you're not going to be able to use neither Nanite nor Lumen.
And yeah, technically you can use it. In fact, Ready or Not, which uses Unreal 5, is using it. And you can definitely notice the lack of accuracy within the shadows, or lack thereof, even on the highest graphics settings. But performance doesn't lie. But anyways, as I showcased with my...
I think like ideas like Battle Royale are going to keep coming to video games every 5 or 10 years as somebody has some breakthrough about all the stuff that we want to do, like survival or building. And I think more ideas are coming, and I think they're going to add to games like World of Warcraft and Fallout 76 innumerably and save them in the end. I just don't know what they could be. I don't know what possibly could make these games better. But I feel that Battle Royale was actually really good for the industry. It kind of did change how people look at shooters. Oh, sorry, kid, I didn't know you were jumping up. I'm sorry. You okay? Don't jump on my ribs. Don't jump on my ribs. Don't jump on my ribs. I'm serious. Do not jump on my ribs. Sit on my lap. Oh, thank you. Good kitty. Oh, you distracted me, kitty.
A bloat example. By default, these performance-heavy features are enabled, and for some godforsaken fucking reason also motion blur! And yeah, these older methods are actually being used in such games as Marvel Rivals and Fortnite, giving you option to switch between Lumen and SSGI. But as a developer, it almost feels like the engine doesn't want you to not use Lumen and not use Nanite. Take for example Ready or Not, that uses no Lumen or Nanite while still using Unreal 5 engine. Now sure, it's not the most detailed game out there, but to have good visuals and to run 150 minimum FPS on the maxed out settings on 4K native, while every other Unreal 5 title struggles to reach 200 while looking like this on the very same machine, should tell you at least a little something, and invoke a phrase, diminishing returns. So then why use Lumen and Nanite? Well, it mainly, probably, comes down to the deadlines and development speed that Lumen and Nanite affords above all. Though ultimately it's all speculation unless developers actually address it directly. Yet, as a customer, I find it kind of shitty.
What game is that he's playing? What's this modern game where the girl's floating around with bare feet? Oh, this is Pragmata? No, it's not Pragmata, I don't think.
Developers of, say, Clair Obscur and several other Unreal titles with very static and unchanging weather and environments to simply say, screw the performance, it's good enough. Now for us, the gamers, players, customers, or just game nerds, there's sadly very little in way of solace. Sure, the frame rates with better hardware in, say, 10-20 years will improve. However, what will remain is the streaks, the smearing, the ghosting of Lumen. And also this crap. See, these early Unreal 5 games in 10-20 years when the hardware advances will remain just as ugly and age just as poorly. Of course, unless developers go out of their way to include settings in the game for Lumen like the update rate and whatever else. With games like Crysis, you can directly contrast how good optimization while pushing extreme levels of quality translates to the future tech, not just for the machines of the day. And understand that I personally see ray tracing as the absolute future of realistic game graphics. Hell, I can't wait for the day when I can play Cyberpunk or Doom the Dark Ages with path tracing on 4K native with 120 FPS. But as is, the tech is simply not there. And this crutch-filled bullshit that Lumen is pushing sucks harder than a truck stop hooker. And just like a truck stop hooker gives you crabs and gonorrhea. I mean, smeary, ghosty, inconsistent, upscaled.
He makes really crude jokes about hookers and stuff like this, which is weird. It's like an old style from the aughts that you don't hear anymore, and it bothers me. It's proof that gamers are like kind of Neanderthal a little bit.
Bullshit. Now, let's jump on the other culprit, Nanite.
It's when you finally understand why they call it trafficking now. It's the movement and sale of human beings. It's not that much different from slavery. You can't really like get away with making fun of hookers anymore. We call it being trafficked for a reason because it's actually really fucking terrible. And I don't like that he just took a shot at hookers for no reason because he thinks that a hooker joke is going to keep me here. Quite the fucking opposite. It's like, trust me, I thought the joke might be funny or whatever that he said. But I know some hookers and I just wouldn't make fun of them. I don't think, You know, I don't think that's a very nice thing to do. It's weird to just take a shot at hookers. It seems sexist and shitty and right-wing and lowbrow. Like, I don't make a lot of hooker jokes, and I don't think I ever did, and I'm a crude motherfucker. You know I am. I don't make a lot of hooker jokes. I don't think, you know, I'm the only hooker joke I make is I want hookers and blackjack. I want more hookers and blackjack in my I want more hookers and blackjack in my adult games. That's my only hooker joke.
First saw the use of these ultra mega super duper model scans. I was blown away.
I remember this old terrible joke on Family Guy that I don't believe I can say on Twitch without a ban, you know? And it was a Family Guy joke about hookers.
And so were a lot of people. By all accounts, this is a technology that many developers have tried, failed, and dreamed of. Being able to place extreme amounts of detail, not just in a rocky terrains far in the distance, but also in the ground you walk on. And it not just being a janky tessellation approach, but a real model detail, and to have it automatically optimized depending on how close it is to the camera, sounded like a dream come true. In practice, having played one of the first games with nanite only, that didn't include Lumen, Remnant 2, then Hellblade 2, Stalker 2, The Alters, Expedition 33, all of whom feature genuinely unprecedented levels of detail in their environments. It's hard to deny the level of geometry and complexity on display. So, where's the problem? Well, the programmers in the audience, especially the graphics programmers, are already yelling at the screen, "Overdraw!" And as much Threat Interactive is an asshole, he presents actual data.
It takes a massive amount of effort to get nanite running semi-non-horrifically slow. It's always the biggest chunk of rendering in games, despite nanite defenders trying to throw Lumen under the bus for UE5 issues. Advocating for higher quality automated LOD generation, texture packing, and better baking workflows isn't asking for more work. It's basic sane development practices that benefit studios and consumers.
And that's the thing, he's not the only source either.
I had a chat with Sterling Rank, the co-creator of Ready or Not, a viral tactical FPS that sold millions of copies. The whole game was made in Unreal.
Another guy on YouTube who's been, making the rounds is that, what's his name? He's like a tech, I don't know if he's a technical artist or just a programmer, but he's definitely an engineer of some kind. He's very clever. It's that guy who's been kind of deep. I don't know, he's been deep diving Unreal and how much it sucks or whatever, and how unoptimized it is, and how nanite's like useless and things. I think I'm very much watering it down.
Do we agree that nanite? Okay.
I've tried nanite. I mean, I've seen the horror stories, and I want to stay away for now. I understand that this stuff can be like pushed out before it's ready. I don't know. It's probably great.
But you're not making an open world game. It's close quarters, indoors, so you can take advantage of occlusion culling. You don't have to render things at far distances, right?
Precisely, I get it. But what I like about Unreal is that it's accessible.
Hell, you can make your own test and have some fun. See, no algorithm exists in the world that would automatically scale, load, stream, or generate the right amount of detail without being massively wasteful. And you see, ever since I saw this, I had an interest in games and their tech, and even I cringe every time I hear the term automatic LOD or automatic optimization. Reason being, it simply never worked to be as efficient as a human hand-built LOD. Basically put, nanite is like vibe coding, but for mesh optimizations. Oh god, it's vibe optimizations. Ugh, basically imagine ChatGPT doing everything. Yeah, you got the picture. You're welcome. Also,
so one area we have stayed away so far from is level streaming. Squad had never any form of level streaming, so the whole map is ever loaded. And the reason for that is Unreal Engine is infamous for traversal stutters. In many Unreal Engine games, as you move to the level, there's a short stutter because it needs to load new parts of the level. And so that's called level streaming system, where you have only parts of the level loaded that are relevant to you. But that moment of loading creates a little stutter, and that's been a long time problem in Unreal Engine.
However, as Stalker 2 has proven, you don't need loading screens at all in their implementation. At least in my opinion, thus far the best one in this sort of regard. But okay, can you perhaps combine...
How is he flying around in that engine? I guess he's like using some mod.
Nanite with hand-built LODs or some kind of optimizations to mitigate overdraw. Yeah, not really. See, nanite itself is already a level of detail algorithm that doesn't allow you to, at least easily, interfere with it. In fact, nanite expects you to dump literally every megapoly in there without combining them as individual objects, including the walls of a room, which safe to say goes quite a bit against the old methods of LOD. But anyways, either you use nanite or you use the traditional LOD system. However, when you start comparing them, well, comparisons ain't kind to nanite, I can tell you that. More memory usage, lower frame rate, and most noticeably, the grainy, pixelated look. However, this is without shading. When you flip on the light switch, the performance basically does this.
I gotta stand up to cough.
Now granted, this video maker rightfully knows that Unreal's virtual shadow maps are sharper, but as for that grainy, pixelated look, well, that only gets more pronounced. And this is the biggest kicker of them all. To solve the grainy, ugly garbage, what do you think Epic Games deemed as a viable solution? Oh, but before that, because of course I can't get my script right, at the last minute I need to add 10,000 additions for these mega videos. Anyways, in one of the first Unreal 5 games, The Remnant 2, which used nanite but didn't use lumen, its performance also was weirdly similar to all the other ones. 40 to 50 FPS on 4K without any upscaling. So, hold on, is Lumen not to be blamed for the performance issues? Well, not entirely, because Lumen is still ray tracing and it does take quite a bit of performance away. However, not as much as you might think. And if this test, as well as Remnant's performance in general, signifies anything, nanite might be the biggest performance hog. However, the majority of graininess you see on the screen from Stalker 2 is caused by the foliage rather than the nanite itself. As for example here in Remnant, sure it's not perfect, but it's definitely not as grainy as you'd expect. So whether it's some sort of a shader or a method that is being used for the foliage, you're still gonna see quite a lot of graininess regardless in every single Unreal game. But regardless, whether it's caused by nanite or some other shader, like my personally hated and abused method of dithering, Unreal Engine is gonna be using it. And on that topic, at what point did game developers collectively decide that adding a dithering effect on cutout shader for foliage was a brilliant idea? I know there are maybe a few benefits to it, but as a customer and observer, I frankly hate it now, thanks to just how much it was abused and relied upon. And it only gets more pronounced the lower resolution it goes. So that's why I chose to use 4K rather than 1080p, because otherwise it would look like...
Oh, I'm in too much pain, guys. I'm going to go to bed. I need to lie down. I've been sitting in this position for fucking 12 hours or something. I'm sorry. I'm just, I'm done. It's 4 in the morning and I've been doing this forever. I'm going to stop now. You've been watching Skycatlive. I'm a full-time variety gamer. I'm in a lot of fucking pain, even with 8 fucking Tylenols. I'm still in so much fucking pain. It feels like somebody punched me in my chest and in my back. It feels like somebody shot me in my chest and in my back. It sucks. And so I can't even barely breathe without bad pain. I'm just gonna go lie down and kind of like focus on that for a little while. You've been watching Skycatlive. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. Put me on in the background. Click on the cast face and donate. Come to the Twitch or the YouTube. Give me a like, sub, or a follow. Nope, kitty, stay down. Nope. Nope, kitty, I don't want you on me right now. No, I don't want you on me right now. No. Do not jump on my ribs. Do not jump on my ribs. Don't jump on my ribs. You jumped on my ribs so bad, kitty. You were so bad. You jumped on my ribs. Yeah, I can just log here, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna log here. And stop this recording with a reminder that you've been watching Skycatlive, and I have thousands of videos on my YouTube channel, which is reflected here. I'm going to stop recording this session and place it on my YouTube channel. And I will end this stream here in a couple of minutes. I will upload, but I don't think I'm going to title right now. I will do that tomorrow because I'm in a lot of pain and I want to come out when I'm fresh and my mind's good and all that. I'm gonna stop the recording here, and there we go. Yes, I want to stop the recording.